what you're doing, because that's what I'm saying we have right here.
But we don't
For
have
some
the
reason,
system.
it was really good. Right when we got all
Yeah.
the 120 violations, that's when it was the best, 98% removal. I'm saying it's crazy what you're talking about.
We still have regulations we'd have to go by through DEQ for wetlands, right?
Yes, you do.
I mean, there's
That grant
got to cover
application.
groundwater monitoring.
Yes, groundwater monitoring, you have to test the crops that come off of it. There's still compliance. It's compliance with DEQ and not EPA. And DEQ is traditionally a lot easier to deal with than EPA is. But there is compliance requirements. And, you have to disinfect, you have to monitor and take regular samples.
Let me give you an example of what he's talking about. When EPA was here in 2007, they called DEQ and said, what do you know about this facility up here? They said, we're going to make a compliance schedule for them to meet the new requirement of 85%. EPA said, there is no compliance schedule. This is the Clean Water Act. You're either in compliance or you're out. So I agree with you. DEQ is probably easier to work with. They're trying to help us. EPA is stuck with the Clean Water Act. They don't have the discretion to not fine us if we violate their requirements.
What's going to happen? George was talking about this 50-year plan. 20 years from now, what if EPA and all this stuff comes along and says, you got to test all these cattle below your wetland, and we say they're polluted. You know how these things evolve. Who knows what's going to come up in 20 years?
That's exactly my
I
point.
don't think you can look out 50 years. Armageddon's coming anyway. But you can't be looking out 50 years. 20, you can't even look out 20. You don't know what EPA is going to do, and then they'll turn around and sue us for polluting the cow.
Well, they're probably going to one day
That could
say,
happen.
they're probably going to say one day you can't dump in the river. Whether it's 20 years, whatever it is.
And then you're going to pollute the cows that are eating the grass. So you
Hopefully
pollute
there's a-
sewage.
Hopefully there's a better technology so we can do something.
Well, but that could happen, George.
We know that.
So don't look past 20 years.
What does the council want to do?
Right now, if we start on this wetland deal right now, how many years are we looking at before it's going to be completed? What are we going to do with our old system?
That's what he'd tell you. Basically, you use the lagoon system.
I agree
These
with
wetlands
that.
are
It's a good
broken
idea.
into
Yeah, I
cells.
think
That's the
they
first
did
two
this a good
cells.
system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a question
Gotta
for,
get the land first. We can't put it on the moon. It's gotta be in Salmon, Idaho.
I got a question for Jim and Calvin both, whatever your level of knowledge is on this. The communities that have gone to this type of system, they've gone to lease options rather than purchase, and then what's the problems with vector control?
I don't know.
Lease options of purchase, we encourage, and DEQ encourages purchasing because that way it's always in control. DEQ does recognize long-term leases, 20 to 30-year lease options. As we've talked to them, they don't want a community in 20 years to be stuck without a place to go. Once you start to plan to find the direction you're going, you've made that investment. As far as vector control, for human contact, you put signage and fencing around it. For vectors and things, that's why you disinfect.
Mosquitoes, I'm talking.
You have chlorine to disinfect the wastewater, then it's treated just like any other irrigation system.
Mosquitoes can be a problem with wetlands.
Yeah, there's lots of problems with it. The issue with the land, the DEQ, the town could make a legal agreement with Overacker, for example, and say, here, Overacker, take care of the water. They'll do that. DEQ wants to be able to sue the town because they have their finger on them. They don't have their finger on a private landowner. That's the issue.
Overacker don't own that over there anymore, though. They sold that place where the old cow barn dairy was. That belongs to Goddard's now. So he don't even own that. And that's what they're figuring on. That whole area there is for housing. That's what they're figuring on.
Yeah.
If they need.
Yeah, Ziegler's got that subdivision in play with the county P&Z right now.
Yeah, and then Ziegler's is down lower, and then the county's trying to get that one chunk there to enlarge the fairgrounds. That's all on the same area, so that area is almost be a tough one to try to get out from under if they gonna build houses and big dollars and all that kind of thing. Never happened. Never happened.
But the engineer's gonna look at it, he just needs money, whatever they have to, if it's value for houses, we have to pay the value of the land that we put the houses in. It's just value, drives the value away.
Right.
What I think we need to decide is how much more data numbers do we need from the engineer? Because they're the folks that are gonna put numbers to some type of system. Other than going
You're right, because it's a workshop, someone on the council needs to make a recommendation to the council meeting to further the study and to engage the engineer to do it. Okay, meanwhile, we can certainly look to see if there are things available.
Well, the first thing,
You can't tell them to do anything right now because this is just a workshop, but, and then the council has to decide.
you have to know how much land you're talking about, 150 acres, 600,
This is part of the
200.
study.
But that's part of the study.
That's part of the study, but you need that to see if the land's available.
Now, Harry and I are moving forward with the phase one of the CICP project, the CIP project, to line Highway 93 north. We're moving forward. We're actually having pre-construction meeting in 2 weeks,
Which I think
which we have to do.
we have to do,
It's
whether we
collapsing.
put a wetland or a filter
So
or
we're moving
botanical.
forward with that. Do you have time? Yes. You want to do it, it's your decision. But you're right, if the land isn't available, why spend $50,000?
Why waste all the time if the land isn't available? That's the only thing. I agree on the principle of a wetland, but you have to have a place to put it.
Do you also agree that it's problematic to keep dealing with EPA? Did
Yeah,
I show you enough
most
data to
stuff
say
you
that,
come
you know,
out,
that's
yeah.
problematic?
But you have to have a place to put it, Cal. You can't,
I'm saying that we don't have any problem saying it's problematic with EPA.
ideas are
If
great.
you want to do
but
that,
they have to
that's
be,
your deal.
Implemented.
That's the decision you have to make. What's my chances with EPA and the river? What are my chances of doing it another way? That's what you decide.
Would it, I'm going along with what Jim was saying, would it be less land for the cattails, I'm going to say cattail, the wetlands, if it went through our lagoon system first?
Yes, but it's not the land for the cattails that really concern us. It's the land requirement for your winter storage facility and your land requirement for your land application and disposal. In our initial look at it within the study, I think our initial calculations we were in the 700-acre range for total winter storage and land application. So that's pretty substantial when you start talking
The
5.
1,000 of
Blew us out of
documents that
water.
EPA has doesn't have any numbers like that.
Well, I'm just saying,
That's what got my attention. I thought, what are they talking about?
to put it on the field at normal agronomic rates, that's what it calculates out to be.
All these other towns did the same thing.
So what are they doing with their disposal?
Read the documents.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
I've already explained how I see it. You make a storage pond, you make a wetland, you put it on the land when you can.
If you can distribute
In the
most of the
summertime.
water to irrigate, then you're not capturing that water, you're moving it out, basically out of the ponds.
They're
You're
moving
not even going
the
into
water
wetlands.
out.
So if you had a distribution of 80% out, then your wetlands factor would be different than if you were basically dumping all of it there, right?
Yeah, the storage thing for the 5 months that we're talking about.
You got to store it up during the winter time, then irrigate it during the summer. So some place you either make some lease arrangements with some farmers in the area, or you buy the land to irrigate it during the summer. And to dispose of it in a 5 to 7 month period in the summer, that land requirement gets pretty substantial.
A lot of gallons.
You have to have a lot of people